The arrival far above the clouds beyond the edge of Earth's reach. A strange object floated silently in space, glowing with a soft light that shifted like flowing water. It moved without sound, without threat, only drifting closer each hour as people across the planet stared at the sky, unsure of what would happen next. Governments scrambled to identify it, military radars tracked it. Scientists whispered possibilities, but no one knew what it truly was. No missiles were launched, no warning was given because there was no sign of danger. It simply came in peace. Then came the voice, a calm, steady message sent in every human language, reaching satellites, phones, radios, and computers across every country. The message was short and clear. We are not here to take. We are not here to rule. We are here to ask for help. News spread like wildfire. People were confused, curious, and scared. Some called it a trick. Others saw it as a miracle. The message repeated every hour until finally a single ship slowly descended from the sky, landing in the middle of a secure desert base where world leaders and top scientists gathered with tight lips and wide eyes. The ship opened like a flower, and from it stepped a figure, tall, graceful, unlike anything seen on Earth. Her skin shimmered faintly like moonlight. Her eyes held years of sorrow, but her movements were calm. Her name was Mira, and she had come not for war, but for survival. Mira spoke in fluent English, though her voice had an echo like wind through a canyon. She explained that her people were advanced in science and technology, but something terrible had happened in their evolution. The females of her kind could no longer reproduce. Their bodies had become sterile over time due to changes in their environment and biology. No cure had been found, and time was running out. Their people had searched across galaxies and studied thousands of species, but every attempt failed except one. Human DNA held something unique, something compatible. It could restore their ability to create life again. The room fell silent. Scientists exchanged looks. Some leaned forward, others leaned away. The idea was wild, almost unbelievable, yet our people had proof, and they had come with no weapons, only hope. Myra explained further. They needed a genetic bond, a biological link with select humans, not through force or control, but through choice, through agreement. It would not be a simple task. It would require understanding, cooperation, and above all trust. One of the observers, a quiet young man named Daniel, stood at the back watching everything. He was not a soldier, not a politician. He was a biologist, someone who had studied genetics for years and believed in the power of life. His eyes never left Mira. As she spoke, he saw the pain behind her calm. He saw the truth in her words. Outside the base, the world argued. News stations ran endless reports. Some saw the aliens as desperate allies, others warned of danger. Many debated the idea of humans being used as breeding material, while others saw it as a chance to save a dying species inside the base. The leaders talked in private. Some saw value in the offer, others feared losing control. But Mira waited with quiet patience, knowing she had only one chance to prove her honesty. Daniel stepped forward at last. Not with loud words, but with a single question. How do we begin? Myra looked at him, not with pride or relief, but with something softer, something like gratitude. In that moment, something unseen passed between them. Not love, not yet, but something close to understanding. And far above in the sky, more alien ships hovered silently, waiting not to invade, not to conquer, but to learn whether humanity would offer them a future or turn away from the chance to become more than alone. The choice had to be made, and Earth would never be the same again. The decision. After Mira's arrival, the world changed quickly. Talks began between human scientists and the alien visitors. Most meetings stayed secret, but the news could not be hidden for long. Questions rose louder every day. People demanded answers. Some feared the worst. Others hoped for something greater. In labs across the globe, top minds tried to understand the alien biology. Mira and her team shared information that shocked even the most brilliant human experts. Their knowledge was vast, but their problem was deep. The females of their kind were alive, but empty inside where life once began. Now they carried no hope of birth, no Chance of family. Daniel worked closely with Mira more than anyone else. He had no military rank, no political power, yet his simple way of listening made him valuable. Mira spoke to him openly. He saw more than facts in her words. He saw feeling. The alien process was not just science, it was emotional, it was personal. Mira explained how their kind needed not just physical bonding, but emotional connection for life to begin. Their kind created life through harmony of minds, a silent link built on trust. Human males carried something rare, something unseen that awakened that bond. Many people did not understand that part of the truth. They thought it would be cold and medical. They thought it was just about genes, but it was more. It was about shared memory, shared emotion, shared breath. Daniel watched the world argue. He saw headlines full of anger, full of fear. Protesters called it unnatural. Some said the aliens wanted to steal human purity. Others believed the mission was wholly a chance to save a broken people. Governments tried to stay calm. They asked for volunteers, but added rules, strict limits, detailed contracts. Yet very few stepped forward. The idea scared many. The connection was too deep, too unknown. Daniel read the details again and again. He stayed up nights watching videos of the alien world, seeing broken cities, empty schools, silent skies, no sound of children, nothing but the wind through hollow towers. It hurt him more than he expected. Mira showed him one last image. A glowing crystal holding the final heartbeat of a newborn that never breathed. The mother had died of sadness. Her mate had vanished. Mira said no name, only stared at the floor. Something in Daniel moved. A quiet fire lit inside him, not of romance, not of glory, but of simple human purpose. He wanted to help, not as a hero, not as a symbol, just as someone who believed in giving life. Others around him tried to stop him. Some said it was too dangerous, others warned of alien trickery. But Daniel did not argue. He just prepared. Mira watched him closely, not with pressure, not with begging, only silence, waiting for his choice. Walked into the room where the world leaders sat. Eyes followed him. No one spoke. He stood with calm breath and steady voice. I will go. A heavy silence filled the air. No one clapped, no one cheered, but something shifted. Mira looked at him and nodded slowly, not with relief, not with joy, but with quiet respect. Daniel was not the strongest, not the smartest, not the most powerful, yet he was the first to say yes, to give without demand. Outside the world still argued, but inside that base, a choice had been made. And somewhere far in space, a sleeping hope began to stir, waiting for the path to open again. The experiment. Daniel stood inside the alien vessel for the first time. Its walls moved like quiet waves, glowing in soft blue light. Everything inside the ship felt alive, but not frightening. It did not feel like metal or machine. It felt like a place made for peace. Mira led him through quiet halls where other members of her kind walked with silent grace. They watched Daniel with curious eyes, but never spoke unless spoken to. Their faces showed no hate, only wonder. The chamber where the experiment would begin was not cold or hard. It looked like a garden filled with living light. Plants grew along the walls, water flowed through the floor like veins, carrying energy, not blood. This was no lab of needles and pain. This was something older, something sacred. Daniel was not there to donate blood or pass simple genes. He was there to connect with Mira through something deeper, a process her people called the joining. It was not forced, not painful, but it required full openness of heart and mind. Before they began, Mira explained the risk. Many attempts had failed with other species. Their bodies could not hold the spark. Their minds could not carry the memory. Their hearts lacked the rhythm needed for creation. Daniel listened carefully. He was not afraid, but he was unsure. He asked questions. Mira answered with honesty. She did not promise success. She promised truth. When the joining started, Daniel felt a soft wave inside his chest, not physical, not like electricity, but like memory being shared across time. He saw glimpses of Mira's world, green oceans, black trees, skies filled with silver winds. He saw joy, he saw sorrow, he saw loss. Connection shook him, but he held on. Mira did not speak with words, but her thoughts touched his like drops of rain touching dry earth. Slowly they reached for something fragile, something unborn, but The first attempt failed. Myra's body rejected the bond. A wave of light pulsed around her, and the chamber dimmed. She fell to her knees, silent, eyes closed. Daniel rushed to her side, held her hand without a word. No guards, ran inside. No alarms rang. Mira stood again, weak but steady, and said it was not his fault. His heart was willing, but something still blocked the path. Daniel spent the night alone, inside the ship, watching stars outside the window. He thought of leaving, thought of failure, but then he heard a soft sound. A cry, not from Mira, not from any adult, but from a child. He followed the sound and found a small alien girl sitting near a glowing tree. Her skin was pale, her body thin. Her eyes held silence that spoke louder than words. She had been born early, too early to survive without help. Daniel sat beside her, slowly offered a small fruit from the tree. She took it with weak fingers and for the first time smiled just a little. Mira stood nearby, watching unseen. She saw something that changed her understanding. Human strength was not in the body, not in the mind. It was in the heart, in the ability to comfort without reason, to give without asking, to care without knowing why. The next day, Myra returned to Daniel and said they would try again. This time not as strangers, not as test subjects, but as two beings who had touched something true. The chamber responded to their bond. Lights grew warmer, the air hummed softly. Daniel closed his eyes, Mira reached forward, and together they breathed in silence. This time the joining did not fail. A spark formed. A pulse of new life moved between them, not a child yet, but the beginning of one. And far above, in quiet stars, a message echoed through space. Life had begun again. Not through force, not through power, but through trust and quiet courage from two souls who chose to believe the first step had been taken. The future now waited for what would come next. The revelation. The news spread across Earth faster than fire through dry leaves. The experiment had worked. For the first time in alien history, life had formed inside one of their own. Through a bond with a human, a spark now rested within Mira's body, small and new, but stable and growing. At first people did not believe the reports. Some called it a lie, others claimed it was dangerous. A few called it a gift from the stars. While scientists confirmed the results, many leaders remained silent inside the alien ship. Daniel stayed close to Myra, watching as her strength slowly returned. Her skin glowed a little brighter, her voice sounded softer, but deeper, full of something missing for many years. Hope. Myra no longer walked alone. Her people looked at her with quiet respect. Some cried without sound, others touched her shoulder with trembling hands. They had waited for this moment for longer than Earth had kept history, but outside the ship not all hearts were open. Not all minds wanted peace. Some powerful humans feared what this child could become. They feared a future where human blood mixed with another kind. They feared losing control over what they did not create. A group of secret officials formed their own plan. They wanted the child taken away, not harmed, but studied, tested, locked inside walls, made of questions, not love. They believed Earth should decide how this new life should be raised. Mira felt the change before it happened. Her mind sensed danger. Her breath grew tight. She tried to warn Daniel, but he was already outside the ship, speaking with Earth scientists, sharing the joy of what had come. Without warning, a blackout struck the base. Power failed, lights vanished, alarms screamed. Mira rushed through the halls, her steps fast but her body weak. She reached Daniel just as armed men moved toward him, faces hidden by masks, weapons raised not to kill but to capture. Daniel stood still, arms open, voice calm. He did not fight, but he did not move. He spoke with steady words. You fear what you do not understand, but fear has never saved anyone. The soldiers hesitated. Mira stepped beside him. She held no weapon, made no threat, but something in her eyes stopped them. A silence heavier than sound filled the air. Then a voice broke through the radio. One of Earth's leaders had seen enough. He ordered the attack to stop, called back the men, and demanded truth, not shadows, to lead the way. News reached the world within minutes. People saw what had almost happened. The fear turned into anger, not at the aliens, but at those who had tried to steal what had just been born. Myra collapsed after the event. Her body tired, her strength fading. Daniel carried her back inside the ship, held her hand. As her breath slowed, but inside her something still glowed. The new life had not been harmed. The spark remained quiet, but strong. Daniel looked at the stars through the ship's window. He spoke not to Mira, not to the world, but to the child still. Growing, you are not a weapon, you are not a secret, you are the answer to silence. The choice now rested with Earth again, to open the door or to close it forever. A future hung between fear and faith, between control and care, between silence and voice, and that voice now waited to be heard through the first heartbeat of a new beginning. The new dawn. The world stood still as the final decision approached. Leaders from every continent gathered together, not in secret rooms, but before the eyes of their people. The question was simple: would humanity support the alien alliance or turn away from it forever? Myra rested inside the ship, watched over by Daniel and a team of human doctors. Her condition remained fragile, but stable. The child inside her continued to grow, untouched by fear or politics, carried by hope, not by command. Outside, people marched in streets, not in anger, but in unity. Voices rose for peace, for understanding, for the right to choose. Many no longer saw Myra's kind as outsiders. They saw them as broken people searching for help, not for power. After long hours of discussion, the vote was held, became clear within minutes. The world had spoken. Earth would stand with Myra's people, not as rulers, not as servants, but as partners in survival. A message was sent to every alien ship waiting beyond Earth's sky. They were welcomed not as strangers, but as guests under a shared promise of peace inside the ship. Mira opened her eyes. Her hand reached for Daniel's without a word. A smile touched her face, not from victory, but from relief. Months passed quietly without conflict. Human volunteers joined the program, not forced, not chosen by status, but by will. They learned the ways of Mira's people, studied the joining, trained in the art of silent connection. Daniel remained at Myra's side through every step. His bond with her grew not as duty, but as friendship, sometimes more, but always true. He helped her walk again, helped her breathe easier, helped her laugh when she thought it had been forgotten. When the time came, the chamber filled with quiet light. No machines, no pain, only stillness and warmth. Daniel stood nearby, heart steady, eyes wide, as the new life entered the world, not crying but glowing. The child had Mira's eyes, but something human in the way they moved, in the way they reached out, without fear, without shame. Just trust. Mira held the child close, whispered words in her native tongue, soft sounds that even Daniel did not fully understand, but he knew the meaning without needing the translation. You are the answer, you are the bridge, you are the beginning. World watched as images of the birth spread across every screen, faces lit with wonder. Hands reached for others across distance and doubt. A new program began. Not to breed, not to control, but to build connection, carefully, slowly, with respect and care. Daniel returned to Earth one day, not to escape, but to teach. He shared his experience not with pride, but with purpose. He told students old and young that hope is not always born from strength. Sometimes it grows from quiet choices, from small steps taken in trust. Myra remained in orbit, raising the child with care, supported by both her people and selected humans who had earned that place, not through power but through kindness. The stars above Earth now held more than silence. They held life again, not just human, not shared. And as Daniel looked up at the night sky, he felt no fear, no regret, only peace, because one choice had changed everything. One spark had lit the way, and now the future waited, not behind closed doors, but out in the open, where every heart could find its own reason to believe again. The end.